Everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. I've been playing a lot of 3.6 lately, and I want to hear what you guys think about it. So I thought a perfect patch discussion topic for today's show would be, what are your initial thoughts about Star Citizen 3.6? Obviously, there's some issues with this topic in the sense that it's not in a lot of your hands, unfortunately, because we're not out of Wave 1 yet. So all sorts of things we could talk about. So it'll be a little bit of a smorgasbord. It won't be like a huge, super on topic one major talking point. What are your thoughts about Wave 1 still being this way? Like, if Wave 1's been this long, should it be open to more backers? And just because it's been a while, like, it's time to give them some time in the game. They're chomping at the bit to get in there. But also, just what are your thoughts about the general features that have been implemented, the law system, voice over IP changes, fixes, anything that you like about that, face over IP ones as well, the ships that got in there for ship purchasing, and just other general improvements or not improvements to the game. So I kind of want to hear about just all your general thoughts on that. So I will start out with just mine real quick. Is the most important thing that came into the game for me was the expansion of ship purchasing. The number of ships that you're able to purchase, the fact that most of them are an attainable price, but not too easily. I think it's a really nice little feature, and it feels like I've been playing Star Citizen for a while, and like in terms of their development progress, I feel like they're kind of always moving the carrot for us a little bit, where it's like, was OCS, and now it's server-side OCS technology that we're waiting for, and then after that it's server meshing, and then after that, what's it going to be kind of thing. But as far as the actual gameplay went, there was actually never really a carrot to chase because of persistence issues and just in general the lack of things to purchase in the game that had any significant change to the game for us. So now with all these ships available, every patch, no matter the level of persistence that we have, I feel like that at least there's a carrot on the stick now. And eventually, things will get more persistent and all that, and then we'll have actual goals and things like that to achieve. And then it's going to be more about expanding the way we reach our goals rather than putting the goals in the first place, like getting bigger ships, getting better ships, and making them better, right? So for me, the biggest thing that made me happy was that, and just the fact that the law system has a massive amount of potential to grow from this point forward. So for me, 3.6 is just all about potential. It really shows the potential of what Star Citizen could be for me, and it's actually got me quite excited. I think you'll notice I've put up a lot of YouTube videos lately and plan on putting up quite a few. Just a side note before we get moving on into the show and bring our first caller on. Next week is my mother's 60th birthday. There will not be a show next week. If you guys are a fan of the stream, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, by the way. I will not be on stream consistently next week because I'll be home in New Jersey visiting family. So just hang tight. I will be here. So I'm probably going to miss the launch of 3.6, but my mother's 60th birthday that's pretty awesome. So we're going to go celebrate it with family and have a great time. So let's just jump right into the show. Our first caller is Shadowhunter255. Shadow, how you doing, buddy?
I'm not bad, Twerk. How are you, man?
I'm well, thank you.
That's good. So 3.6. I'm excited. I'm a little excited for it. I'm glad they brought back my feature, my favorite feature, which is the 30k errors.
There's not that many of those.
There was yesterday.
Well,
on the
but to be fair, that has rolled back, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm just stirring Christian. Hopefully, he's still in chat. But like I say, no, look, it is mostly. It's like what you're saying. It is mostly potential. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, like the ship salvaging and stuff like that, like the scrapyard, we know in future it's going to be used so that you can actually go through and actually sell ships and other stuff that you've acquired with air quotes.
Yeah.
So all that sort of stuff is obviously exciting gameplay that we're all looking forward to. I like the lore system that they've started implementing. I'm interested to see where that goes. I think that's going to fix a few of the issues that we had with pad ramming and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's cool to read just the list of laws and how they differ from each area, stuff like that.
Yeah, and like I said, look, obviously at the end of the day, it's something we know that Star Citizen needed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, yay, we got laws now. Like, welcome to the UEE sort of thing. So like I say, and obviously I love the fact that we can buy ships now, like you say, carrot stick. I love the fact that you can actually go through and say, hey, I want to buy a caterpillar or whatever it may be, or you could always buy the cutlass, but you can buy an arrow or whatever it may be, and you can sort of go to the shop and you can see the prices. Obviously, subject to change. And then obviously, when the game gets full persistent, then obviously we can go through and we can buy our ships. But the biggest thing is something that every other YouTuber has completely missed.
What's that?
They actually, so I think it was in the monthly report, they wrote about they have successfully tested OCS server-side.
They're in testing, right?
No, they completed the first round of testing and it was successful.
That doesn't mean it's done.
No, obviously no. But if they're starting to test, like they're obviously further along than I thought they were. Like I thought they were like this thing was going to be like 12, 18 months. It's going to be another OCS sort of thing. But reading that, I was like, oh, hang on, we might actually get this before CitizenCon, and because obviously we know they need it to expand the universe, right? Because they can't put any more stuff in. The servers are overloaded.
And when is the universe getting expanded, Shadowhunter? On the roadmap.
So, yeah, on the roadmap, it's December or fourth quarter, first quarter, right? Subject to being delayed. But I was always under the impression, well, not under the impression, but I was always kind of fearful that it might get delayed because they hadn't got OCS done. But then I saw in the newspaper, it was like, hey, we're testing OCS and we've tested it and we've already tested like round one of it. And I'm like, oh, cool. This is new. This is what came in with 3.6. And I was like, yay. Like, yeah, I don't know. I was really pumped for that, but
I love you just called it the newspaper. I'm sorry. I just had to, you called the monthly report the newspaper. Because that's actually the newspaper for us, like those things, right?
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, technically, yeah. But yeah, no. So apart from that, but I don't know. What do you like? What are your thoughts on 3.6?
Well, obviously the ship purchasing. The other thing, which I think I'm gonna probably make a video on today, is the economy improvements with mining, like, cause there's two types of economy gameplay, right?
Yep.
And it's mining and cargo hauling right now. And obviously, like, you could do missions and stuff, but I think most missions are not like your typical economy gameplay, where mining and cargo hauling really are. And the biggest improvement out of both of those is the improvement to the cargo trade windows, where it tells you, okay, you've reached the maximum purchase limit at this spot because that's all that we have. And then it gets grayed out to show you that they're not selling anything else. So you're not constantly wasting your time and getting that retry screen and everything, or processing or whatever it used to say, and just break over and over again. And then they also, the cargo timers are quite long now. I still haven't quite figured them out. I need to do some research for that. And then mining has gotten a big improvement with the clustering of asteroids, right? So when you do find a group of asteroids, you find multiple asteroids there. So if you find one, like I found unfortunately the game crashed before or no, the game didn't crash. My ship just shut off completely, and I couldn't use it anymore. While I was mining one of the rocks. Yeah. But I found 3 really good laranite rocks in one spot. That's like 40-50K right there. So, you know.
I haven't done much of the cargo hauling or of the asteroid stuff yet. I've mostly been playing around with just like checking out the new space stations. And by the way, oh my god, they're amazing. But yeah, I'll talk about that in a sec. But like I say, yeah, I haven't checked out I've read the report. I've seen the thing in the notes saying that, hey, we've clustered things, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting because, like you say, they're not.
You spent so much time scanning before and no time mining. Now you scan for a little while and then you spend a lot of time mining, which is like the point of mining. So it's nice.
Yeah, so I haven't checked that out much, so I don't know what that's like myself. So that's interesting to hear. But another thing that obviously, look, to be honest, there's nothing really in this patch besides the bugs that I don't like. It's a general pretty good patch. It's, we got these new space stations that came in that are looking absolutely huge. We got physical elevators now.
What game are you playing in the background right now?
Hellion.
I can tell because I can hear you pressing WASD. I just had to say it. How's Hellion? Give us an update on Hellion, dude. While you're here, you might as well just tell us how it is. How is it? Is it good?
It's not as far advanced as Star Citizen. No. Star Citizen's actually a lot more fun to play, but unfortunately, I had to sign in because everything was about to blow up. All my space stations and everything was about to blow up, so
it's fine.
I had to jump in. Yeah,
fair enough.
But like I say, yeah. So like the space stations that we get in like Star Citizen and stuff like that, I was like, like they look amazing. Yeah, they look incredible. Spoiler alert, I find it very interesting that the space stations are like 2 kilometers long. How big is the Idris again?
200 meters?
Yeah. So they're obviously getting ready for capital ships and stuff like that to come in the game as well.
Yeah. They're beautiful too.
They are. They are. That one that's over near Stan, I can't remember I can't remember what name it is now. But yeah, the one that's over near Crusader, over near Port Al-Azhar. It's like it's a great big circle with great big long arms and landing pads and all that. And I love the fact that the elevators are all physical now, where you can actually go through and Christian, if you're in chat, well done, buddy. You can actually go through and actually, jump in, and you can see like a ship moving away from you where you're in the elevator and stuff. So there's just generally a lot of good stuff. And look, obviously the bugs are there. Obviously, hopefully we can get those all sorted out and we can have a decent game. But there's nothing really in the patch that I don't like. It's it's a lot of potential.
That's what it is. It's all potential right now. Like the law system has a lot of potential to grow into things. Like the law system is where piracy starts, it's where bounty hunting starts, it's where mercenaries starts, right? And then it's also like what you said before, it just doubles as preventing against pad ramming and all the stupid like griefing bullshit that happens. But then it also,
but it's also
like the only way not the only way, I think that they've implemented more ways to make money now, or better ways to make money that are lawful as well. As far as cargo hauling goes, I have to do a lot more research. But then on top of it, now when you're running the most profitable things, which would be drugs, there's risk that comes with that reward, right? So it's so like overarching and touches so many things and is so important. And by the way, everyone's calling you out right now for saying that you said that the OCS was successful. It's that they just tested it. They didn't say it was successful or anything.
Oh, okay. I thought it said successful tested.
No.
Okay. Sorry, my bad.
Whatever. Yeah. It's still something of note for sure.
Yeah, and the fact is, if they're testing it, then they're obviously getting they must be moving along very nicely with it. Which is what I was mostly interested in. I was like, oh, server-side OCS, like, because obviously that is something that we need badly.
Yeah.
Like, because like the frame rate. Like, I jumped in. I was playing Star Citizen with one of my mates at work who was under the vehement belief that Star Citizen was a scam.
Yeah.
So I said to him, look, I got a spare account. It's just got a basic Mustang on it. Jump in the game. You can use my username and password for that account. I don't know if I'm not supposed to say that or not, but and jump in and we can play with the two accounts and have a go of it and let me know what you think. And he jumped in and look, he said, yeah, it's buggy as there's a lot of bugs and stuff like that. He gets that. But he also turned around and said that it is hugely potential. There's a lot of fun and this is
Yeah. You can
really
see that
fun
is on the horizon. It may not be like 100% here yet. You can't like it's supposed to be an MMO, and I remember like early in the stream I talked to the chat about like I love MMOs, and what's so great about them is that they like consume you, right? And you get engulfed in these games, and they're so great. This game is not that yet, right?
No.
It still is fun, but can you play it every single day and have a new goal for yourself each day? Because like after you finish one character in an MMO, well, time to make another one, right? Like there's always something to do. Nobody's perfect in an MMO because there's so many things to touch, and it's so overarching about so much, right? Like what a lot of things is like after you've done all the PvE content, you start doing PvP content, so that we just don't have that yet. But yeah, I mean, is there anything you want to? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was going to say if there's anything you want to add before we let you go.
Sure. It's mostly, it's like you say, it's mostly just potential. Look, at the end of the day, the law system and everything like that, the salvage yard, obviously that's going to help with people who want to go and, sell people's ships when they destroy them in combat. The things like, for example, the new space stations, that's obviously potential for these capital ships that are coming in. OCS service being tested. All right, chat. I said tested that time. But obviously that's for capital ships and expanding the universe. It's just there's a lot of potential, and you can see it, and you can go, oh yeah, this is where they're going to go with CitizenCon. This is what we're going to have for the next 18 months, and it looks really, really good. It's getting to the point now where, like I said, I'm playing Hellion as we speak, but I was actually saying I didn't sign into Hellion last night or for the past 2 nights because I was playing Star Citizen.
Yeah.
And tonight I was like, I have to sign into Hellion, otherwise all my things are going to start blowing up. So I have to jump in and do a little bit of maintenance. But as soon as I finish what I'm doing here, I'm jumping back into Star Citizen.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like it's starting to get to that point where you can keep playing things and you can start doing things and also like them going through, and they've bumped up a lot of the mission rewards now, where if you go to and do security port Kreia, it's now worth like $6,000 or something.
Okay.
So they've changed a lot of the mission rewards and stuff as well to help make it easier to make money and stuff. So yeah, it's a lot of quality of life and a lot of potential, and I'm really looking forward to it, to be honest. So
nice. Well, all right, Shadow. Let me let you go. I think we got a new caller in, so we're gonna get him in here and
execute. I think I might know who Execute is, but yeah, no worries, buddy. Have a great night.
All right, have a great one. Be good. Bye now. All right, before we bring in our next caller, we do also have some hashtag ATC17 tweets, and the first one, if it shows up, there we go, is from our resident tweeter, Mudfucker. So there we go. There it is. It says, I hope they push the 3.6.x patch to 3.7. Seems like they're out of sync, and I think this may help to get them back on track. I'm happy to wait for the rental system and the 890 jump. Yeah, I guess. I don't... This is one of those things where it's like a game development thing, where it's above my head, right? And I don't know what it's going to take to not have a situation where... it's July 7th, and we're talking about what are your initial thoughts about Star Citizen 3.6, and it's still in PTU Wave 1, which for those of you guys that may not know what that means, is there's a live build and then there's a public test universe build, PTU. Public test universe has multiple waves. The first wave of people that they let in are their testers that are under NDA, then people who subscribe to them, and people who have spent $1,000 or more. So, and how the people that are tested and that are under NDA, it's based on the amount of time that they've played the game and the number of reports that they've done. But then there's people that have done a ton of play and a ton of reporting that aren't comfortable signing an NDA and giving them like your driver's license, which is totally understandable. And those people aren't able to play the game now. So you either have to spend $1,000 or $10, but still $10 to test a game that's completely broken is not a great experience. So I kind of agree that there's some sort of like sync issue. They're out of sync. The timing isn't right. But yeah, so it's weird. And I kind of discussed earlier that I don't quite understand why there's still features seemingly being added at this point when they're already kind of late. And those features coming in seem to have created a lot more issues than we were experiencing when it first went to PTU. So anyway, Mud, thank you so much for your tweet. I do appreciate it. And we are now going to bring on Fired TM, who I think is a new caller. I don't think we've ever had him on the show. Let me just make sure I get his name up there for you guys. There we go. And bring him down. All right, Fired TM, welcome to Answer the Call. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Good. Is this your first time calling? I think it is.
Yes, it is.
Well, welcome. So what are your thoughts about 3.6?
For the most part, what I see, first off, I started the game in 3.1. I got shit that popped me
Okay.
out of the roof in basically on a computer that didn't work.
Gotcha.
From what I see from 3.1 to 3.5 is the game improved drastically.
Yeah.
3.6, yes, I do see a lot of bugs, but I think people are forgetting that this game is still an alpha. They need to give the developers time to still develop it.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. My actual argument isn't looking at the bugs necessarily. It's more along the lines of, all right, they told us, hey, we're going to these quarterly patches, so they're gonna get so the game is gonna be more stable now, right? Because we're gonna take half of the quarter to build the features, and then half of the quarter to implement the features. The issue that I have is that at the start of this PTU, the law system wasn't fully implemented, and the voice over IP and face over IP wasn't fully implemented, as well as most likely a few other things that maybe just went over my head, right? And because those things are still being implemented, it's seeming that the instability is starting to rise right now, right where we are, right? Like we just had a rollback because the game was incredibly unstable. Why? It's because they're still adding stuff to the patch when what they told us in the past they were going to do is say, hey, this thing isn't ready, let's push it to the next patch. And that actually helps them still make the game, and it still goes along the same point that you were making, that we just need to be patient, right? So if a feature isn't ready, then maybe it shouldn't be ready for the current build, because they want the current build to be as stable as possible. But at the same time, I think what they really wanted was this patch, while has a lot of like cool potential features, it didn't have any really striking marketable features, right? So I think there's some disconnect there.
They do need to prioritize on what they put in, like the voice over IP and the little talking mouthpiece. They need to dump that, because in other games like Battlefield, no one uses that. If you want to talk, you get something like Discord, TeamSpeak. I don't even know if people use Ventrilo anymore, but you get things like that.
I did in Ultima Online.
And you cut the stuff that you don't need, and you focus on things that you want in the game, like the law system that you're talking about.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to drop the whole face over IP thing altogether. Voice over IP is important. I think it's important to have it in multiplayer games and MMOs. You're right, Discord's a thing, but how do I speak to you if we never met each other before? It does make it sort of complicated. I understand voice over IP being important. The face over IP thing, when it's ready.
I come from like games like EVE Online. I've played it in alliances and corporations and in incursions. TeamSpeak, people found it. Discord, people found it if you wanted to talk. If you wanted to negotiate with another corporation, another alliance, people found each other's TeamSpeak. People found each other's Discord. So that type of excuse should not be used, because that, I would say, should be pushed to the end of development, like right before the game comes out, because that doesn't really tie in with any of the core gameplay aspects. At least I don't. At least I believe that it wouldn't.
Okay, I mean, I sort of, I agree and disagree. Like, I sort of agree that maybe it's not a feature that's super important right this second, but I know in my experiences, Fired, that when I'm able to communicate with people in the game, it gives it a lot more ease and accessibility for everybody to communicate for each other. And for me personally, it's taken it's raised my enjoyment of the game up tenfold, is to be able to communicate with someone that I normally wouldn't have been able to. And then the roleplay aspects are huge. And then, because, now you're bringing in people that enjoy roleplay to the game, right? Not everybody plays the game the same way. Like, the core features for you, I don't know exactly what you enjoy doing in the game, but let's just say it's doing missions. You don't need voice over IP for that, right? You don't need voice over IP for running cargo necessarily. But now think of the fact that you're running cargo and I'm a pirate, and I hail you and say, hey, Fired, drop half of your cargo, or drop a service beacon down and give me a few credits and I won't attack you, right? It just adds to the gameplay a little bit. But I do agree, maybe it's not a super essential feature right this second. And face over IP, in my opinion, is definitely a last minute, like, added in towards the end type of thing. But voice over IP does seem pretty important to me personally. And I think a lot of people agree with me, but I think a lot of people would agree with you also.
And that sums up what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. But like, what else? What do you think about the hover mode?
Hover mode, from just what the streams have shown, that is a wow. What were they thinking when they added that in before actually finishing that?
I don't know. So you haven't gotten your chance to get your hands on it yet, have you?
No, I'm not one of those PT or whatever.
Evocati or whatever, yeah.
Yes, I'm not one of those. But just watching the streams, watching people try and land on a space station, and then just get slammed into a wall, blowing them up, that's not right. Why didn't the developers actually test this and try landing on a space station? And the first time one of them gets slammed into a wall, they say, that's not supposed to work that way. Why don't we try and find out what's wrong with it versus, let's the testers see if they could figure out what's wrong with it.
Yeah, that's the one part that I don't really know why that happens and why that's why it's still happening, and why, like, that's the one bug. Like, okay, there's lots of bugs that are in the game. That's the one that's the most confusing one to me. But yeah, because I don't think it's overall. And sorry if you can hear Lola yelling in the background. I apologize. That's the one thing that, like, hover mode overall is pretty cool, and it feels really good when you take off and when you land, and it's smooth, and mostly on, like, planets and stuff. Just for whatever reason, once you get over these landing pads, things get weird. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm going to disconnect.
All right, Fired. Well, thank you for calling. I'm glad to have you on the show. He just left. All right, so we have one more tweet real quick. Let me bring that up. At least one more tweet. I know that there was another one from Router. And actually, I'm going to refresh and see if we have any other one. No. Okay. Router asked a pretty interesting question, sort of related to 3.6, sort of not. But he said, at SaltEMike, with the new Kruger Intergalactic P72 Archimedes and the P52 Merlin in 3.6, should Kruger get more P variants like racing or sensor variants? I don't know. I think even though it's not really on topic, it sort of is. So Kruger Intergalactic brings in the Archimedes. The Archimedes is a racing ship, but it's also got some extra guns. But yeah, I don't think we should see this, and I don't think that it should be a priority anytime soon until they have ship-to-ship docking. Once you have ship-to-ship docking, I can only imagine the number of parasite ships that start getting developed and need for them and reasons for them and all sorts of things like that, right? Because once you can start docking ship to ship, then you can start creating more of a reason to have them. But yeah. So anyway, the P-72 was actually sold as a racing ship. Even though it's luxury, some Mercedes-Benz and some BMWs and some Porsches are also racing cars. A Lamborghini can race, but it's also a luxury vehicle, right? So there's that, and I am going to set us up again for our next caller, who is Execute. And before I bring him in, my cat Lola is screaming at the door, so we're going to let her in and have her be a part of the show as well today. All right, so give me half a second. We're going to bring her in. Because she's being ridiculous. You want to be a part of the show so bad, you're going to be the show for a second. You want to be a part of the show so bad, we're going to bring you on the show and show you to everybody on YouTube. All right? There you go. All right, so now let's bring in Execute. Execute, how are you? Welcome to answer the call.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm just recovering from the flu here in Australia.
Oof.
Yeah, particularly bad this year around. Vomiting and all that jazz.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, pleasant as hell. Sorry, probably not the way I should have started out, but
it's okay.
Yeah, so I guess the last
you're
time
gonna give
you and
Chat the flu. We got to hang up on you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. So the last time you and I talked, I threw around the concept of how almost everything with Star Citizen's going into Squadron 42,
yeah,
and that we're really only seeing the overflow, and I think that's still really prevalent in what we're seeing now, with 3.6, and I've kind of always stood by, like when I did my show, we've talked about how this year is probably going to be one of the worst years for Star Citizen in regards to lack of content. And I'm thinking we're just starting to see that now with 3.6. And I think you've even mentioned yourself on a few other of your answer the calls. We're only going to be getting other landing zones this year, and a few little ships, like all stuff that we've kind of seen before. There's not really any gameplay.
Yeah, there's no major headline feature, right? Yeah. Like even last year there was at least Star Citizen's first planet, right? And there's no headline this year.
Yep. And I think the only thing we've even had hinted,
there is a headline. It's the server side OCS and server meshing, and those are the headline things, but there's no. But that's just technology stuff. That's not something that the wider gaming community is going to go, oh shit, got to go play that game, so.
Yeah, that's all back end. We need something front end. I think the only kind of thing I was going to say is jump points, and I think if they do show that off, it won't be until CitizenCon at the earliest. But I don't think you're going to see any gameplay until to the wrap up of Squadron 42. And I said this to you before, but I'm just repeating it for everyone watching. Is you're basically going to see a switch from Squadron 42 development to Star Citizen development, and the first people you'll see move over are like artists and developers, and then the programmers, as they get rid of all the code, they'll move over as well. And I think when we start to see Star Citizen kick off, we'll know that Squadron 42 is not far from going out the door.
Yeah. That's true. I agree.
But as for 3.6 itself, I'm still finding it a little lackluster.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not enough gameplay in there for me. I watch a lot of videos, as I know you do, and a lot of other YouTube streamers. And I think the most interesting thing probably at the moment was a few of the changes they made to mining. But even then, it's like still, what is it, tier 0.5 or whatever you want to call it? Like, it's just so low that it's not enough for me. I'm really kind of waiting until we even get the basics of salvage, and even then, they've pretty much said it's only going to be hand salvage. So and until you can like sit in a ship and do something with a group of friends. And I know Board that said this on one of his streams about a month ago, is once they get group quests in, I think that might be the first time we actually see some kickoff of actual gameplay, because you can at least do stuff with other people then. Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can do stuff with other people now. It's just there's no mutual benefit to doing it. It's always one person who's benefiting over the other. So when that actually gets in, it'll be a really, really nice thing. But even then, Star Citizen really every year needs that kind of like blow you away feature to keep it relevant. And this year, it's just not there. You know?
Yeah, and I just don't think the landing zones are going to cut it. Like, I don't know about you, but when ArcCorp came along, what was your impression of ArcCorp? Like, wow, that looks pretty, but I've seen that kind of before.
Yeah, like,
because that was my.
I feel terrible that I feel that way too. Because
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and it's beautiful, and it's pretty crazy. But at the same time, it's like, all right, it looks cool. I can land on some of the roofs. That was mind blowing, because look at all these roofs I can land on, and look at the potential gameplay that's there. But we don't have any of that. That's not coming anywhere anytime soon, right? So there's all that. It's always like, okay, it's cool, but it's everything's friggin' tier 0, so it's hard to get super hyped about it, and it's hard even from probably somebody who isn't a Star Citizen backer yet, seeing those things, and it's like, oh, so all you can do is just fly around, you know? It's like, well, yeah, for now, but it's gonna be all the time.
You've used that word a few times today, potential, and I think that kind of really does sum up this game in a nutshell. I've seen the potential of this game since the beginning, but
you're
that's
really
still
able to realize it now,
like,
more.
Yeah. Well, it's becoming more and more, but I'm just waiting for that the break of the wave, so to speak. So when it finally goes from potential to there we are, and then it can start. You know, the tsunami can break, so to speak, and we can actually see it.
Agreed.
Crack as an actual wave. I just look that I think you're in the same place as me, because I know you were gearing up for 3.6 to start streaming and all that stuff, hoping that there was going to be all this gameplay to show off. Is that changed your plans now you've actually seen the PTU? Like, are you going to like, maybe I can't play this as much as I thought I was going to play, or are you going to still go ahead with your plans and push off into streaming more commonly?
I think it's I have plans to do something like really kind of big, and I want to keep it a surprise. Hopefully, I don't know. I have to do some research and see if I can work on it if it actually will work for streaming. But I don't think plans change really at all. It's really all about, for me, is going, all right, with the available game mechanics that I can do, let's see what ships I can earn. Let's go for this one this week or this month or whatever, and like, for me, it's more of, I actually have something that I can just give a goal for myself. Whether there's a point to it or not is a whole nother story. There's obviously no point. It's just going to get wiped for 3.7. But there's something for me to do at least now, where before it was the only ship to work towards was a prospector that made any sense, or maybe a cutlass, and I already have that. Now there's all these ships that I've never flown before, or are crazy expensive, and I can try and try and earn one of them. Might be cool. $17 million ship, an $8 million ship, a $52 million ship. Right.
I think that's definitely going to be the biggest thing for people that don't have many ships or are newer to the game. They can definitely go in now and actually try or rent some of those ships. And so I actually think you will see some growth just based on the back of that alone.
Yeah.
But like for me personally, I still have a real big problem with how do I put this? The real world cost of ships and the cost of certain ships in game. And an example that I use quite a lot is if you look at something like the Dragonflies and the Auroras, they're not that different much in real world price. But then when you get them in the game, the cheapest Aurora is like 12,000, 1,200, and the most expensive Dragonfly is like 75k. So the actual difference in price is just insane, and I can't actually. Again, it's the marketing people. It's not the developers. I never tend to blame them for any of these things, but.
It's got to make sense in game, but like whatever makes sense outside of the game, it doesn't matter at all. You can't look at that at all. You have to look at it from a game perspective and just ignore the marketing ridiculousnthey that has affected this game from time and time again. And no matter what we say or what we do, it's never gonna change because they got to fund the game. Like I give up.
Yep. I think it's very narrow-minded of anyone to think that this is not going to stop once the game releases either.
Yeah.
Like they've previously mentioned that they'll bring out things like new Hornets. So every 3 or 4 years, a new version of that chip will come along, and they go, you can upgrade to it for this, or you can buy it brand new for this. And why would you take the most successful crowdfunding thing ever and just go
stop?
No, I don't want to. Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to crowdfund anymore, even though we're still making millions every year. It'd be the stupidest decision they've ever made. Right.
Yeah. So I think you're a little bit naive if you think that's not going to happen. But I think I'm. It's almost like puppy dog eyes. Like you sit there praying that it's not going to happen.
Of course, but we all
hope it would not happen. Exactly. All right. Well, I think I'll head off with that because you've got a few more people in line now. So I'll nick off and head back to Tasmania, and I'll see you around.
Sounds good.
Again soon.
Yes, for sure. Bye. Looking forward to it. Bye now, X. All right, our next caller is ASN. Welcome, ASN. Hello.
Just wanted to drop by and kind of drop the expectations of the community a little bit because because I didn't play 3.6 yet, but I've been checking out what people are doing in the game and all the issues that always happen every patch, and for some reason people get agitated every time. For me, it's a bit of a different perspective because it's bound to happen every time, and there's no point in getting angry. And I know it's hard to do when you're playing it like 8 hours a day and you're seeing the same issues every quarter, and it can get on your nerves. So for a streamer, it must be something way more different than, for example, with what I'm doing, which is hopping in every live build. But I want to drop the expectations a little bit because I think even going in at the end of last year, I was like, all right, so the priority is Squadron. So whatever people expect, people are already expecting 3 times of what is possible production-wise. But with Squadron,
who created those expectations though? Was the community or was it them?
I think it's a mutual thing, right? So it goes both sides. So the gaming community in general is very passionate.
Of course.
And developers sometimes harness this and cannot properly use it, and they make mistakes, and then the passion gets disillusioned, and that community gets angry, whatever. But sometimes, the developer can actually harness that, but also keep expectations measured. When it comes to this project, it's way more different. Again, the crowdfunding thing, the live thing. But in general, even at the beginning of the year, with Aaron saying we're gonna go more conservative, the Squadron production is the focus. Whatever people expect, I think number one, drop down your expectations. That's the one thing I'd say, and I think the roadmap kind of shows that too, because. Another factor is, of course, when you're in the development of something, that's what I call development time, which is you don't feel that time is moving forward. You don't feel things are changing.
Yeah.
But you need to be outside and looking in to understand how much stuff is changing.
Yeah.
So essentially, when somebody new comes to Star Citizen on a stable live build, they're like, wow, this game, I can see like, oh wow, all this stuff you can do, and this is like all interesting. But if you're inside and you're getting these small updates all the time slowly, right, you don't understand what's happening with the overall direction that much. That's another psychological factor. That's why development is always and now. It's not like, oh, this next big thing. It's just like, oh, okay, this new thing, this is the current state. But you don't actually feel the progress because you're in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, dropping expectations is really key. I think this year is like, CIG is looking at this like, let's keep improving live along with the Squadron updates. Try to focus as much as on Squadron as possible while still keeping the live crowd happy somewhat, and developing the tech necessary for live. So it's essentially a studio that is quiet. I mean, it's some combined tasks, but I think there's also a lot of split happening in what is going on with the production.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that except for 3-4 big ones like the dynamic mission system and the others, the core tech stuff, there's going to be a lot of big stuff. I mean, like in people's expectations, there's not going to be big stuff. But actually, every step, every task here, improving one thing is quite a lot of work. Like, I mean, for a player looking at this roadmap, for example, I just go down to the roadmap and I'll go to, let's say, 3.6. Let's just go to weapon attachments, right? How long have they been talking about this? Just think about it. And
we still don't have it.
We still don't have it, but it's being developed by a team. And while a player might look like, oh, this is just a neat addition, this is something that's been what they're thinking about and what they're designing and working for years. Like they've been thinking about this 3 years ago. And they might even have started some work 2 years ago. So now that finishing is actually a big thing out of the list, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a different way of looking. The developers look at things a bit more differently. Like it's just, every small step at every different department together moving forward is still a good big step forward. And for a player, of course, it's different. The player wants to see more connected content, more replayability, more dynamic stuff, what you would expect from an MMO game. But it's just important to, just drop down that player expectation for this year, at least, in my opinion, and just take it as it comes. Like whatever gets in, look at it and be like, okay, this wasn't that good, this wasn't that bad, or this is just a bit less than what I expected. But just, lower those expectations. Think about this year as covering up the largest weaknesses of the game, which is like pretty much, if you look at the roadmap, you'll see that it's generally a lot of improvements on what are the weakest parts of the game.
Yeah.
And adding, with whatever resources the production team has left, adding the necessary tech to make next year a better year, right? For live, for Star Citizen, the game.
Yeah.
But the primary focus on the side is, of course, like Squadron, and focus on the chapters, focusing on whatever is necessary for both games, but primarily for Squadron.
All right, that seems fair to me. I mean, I always try to lower my expectations, but I never do. Yeah, I guess that is the best way to say it. It's hard to.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like 3.3, right? 3.3 is actually the closest thing I would say that would like make any Star Citizen backer be like, oh, that was a step.
Yeah.
But think about the amount of work it took to get to 3.3. And you just cannot expect, the same 2-3 year of work to happen in this year while Squadron is a priority within a quarter. It's just, it's just not possible. I mean, for that kind of content and delivery, you would need a much bigger, even bigger team than this. You would need much more studio experience, maybe a couple of more release games and all that stuff. And even then you might be, it would be hard to meet those player expectations right now.
I don't think you'll ever meet player expectations for Star Citizen at this point, because they wildly blew those expectations into all different directions that we have no idea what to expect. And usually we expect more than we probably should.
Yeah, I definitely
part of it's our
so.
fault, but I think a huge part of it falls on their shoulders, and then they get kind of upset at us because our expectations are higher than what can be delivered at times. But it's like, you created the monster, guys.
Yeah, it is. It is a problem with the crowdfunding system and the way they're approaching how they receive money. And I've been pretty open about this. It's like there is no bar. It's like we can receive any money. It's fine. Like, and you know, I'm not that okay with that as a backer or just in general. I don't think every part of a game should be commercialized. Like, we sometimes want to escape our world and experience something. It doesn't have to be balanced, something different, but not totally influenced by our real world, right? Which is already, materialized and monetized by nearly every kind of way. And then you just get into a game where you're supposed to do everything, and then everything there is also monetized. Yeah. So, like, there should be. I mean, it's really hard to debate this because there's no bar and there's no limit and there's no regulation. There's nothing.
And this is the first time this has ever really happened, so it's hard. There's nothing else to go
Eve
off.
Is close.
Yeah.
Eve is a little bit close. Eve has some very strong monetization too now. But so it's really hard to talk about that stuff. But in general, I'd say for me at least, this is how I look at it. I see improvements to every section of the game. I see core tech being developed while all these other stuff is happening. I see Squadron progressing with their features while everything else is happening. And I'm like, okay, so they're working at every part. They're adding new stuff as much as they can. Stuff breaks, stuff doesn't work. It's an alpha, and it takes time. We all know. So it's just, take it as it comes this year with the roadmap and expect like 20-30% to be pushed forward as usual. That's just game development.
Sure. And you actually have a question from chat. So IDD asked you, maybe a question for ASN. Does he think that CIG at some point will go with a dual build, stable and experimental? We've had that over a period of time, but that was before the Delta patcher. So do you think they'll ever go to a place where we have the experimental build where they're trying things and we're dealing with kind of the shit that we have right now, and have a live build that's stable and workable and all that? At some point, that's like maybe even during the alpha. So
that's the thing. You could have that after. So ideally, this is what you would do. You would release Squadron next year. Ideally, I'm talking about like the ideal future, which generally doesn't exist. So you will release Squadron next year. You would work 1 or 2 more years to add all the professions and whatnot, and release Star Citizen with whatever 5-10 systems you have. And after that point, the game is released, and you'll be like, all right, guys, now we have to look at our finances. We have to look at the team. We have to look at our online system. What are we going to do? How many developers do we need to update live content? How frequently do we need to do so? How many features do we need to add? How complex are these features? How are they going to break the MMO? So they would then it would make sense to have a stable live build of the MMO. Everything functions as best as it can. And then you have an experimental build with the new, profession systems like exploration, new, solar systems and whatnot, where you test all the new stuff and make sure it's really good. And then you merge it to the live version. And then you open a new one the next quarter, right? And it would make sense then, because then you can gauge much better where you're in the production and the complexities of whatever, and you have a working system. Right now, it's too volatile, I think, to do that.
Yeah,
because even the live version itself is technically experimental right now.
100%. Yeah. It would just be too crazy, I think. I think for now, the current system works relatively well. The only issue that I said earlier, is it seems like they're still adding features when, as far as a quarterly release go, they probably should have pushed it to the next patch.
Yeah, that's I completely agree with that. I mean, Firefly was on
point last week, right?
And I would 100% agree. Like, you get to a date, right? And I wrote it down on the comment section there. On the 7th week, you cut off. You spend the 3-4 days creating a build for Evocati. Add Evocati. Give the week 8 and week 9 for Evocati to test and for you to improve. And on week 10, release the PDU. You have week 10, 11, and 12. You have 3 weeks at the end of the quarter on PTU. You can separate that to waves. And then after 3 weeks of testing and bug fixing and adding everything, you release. Like, this is just how it should be. And I know
if you have a dead quarter, you have a dead quarter.
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. Like
and like in some part of Cloud Imperium, it must be the end of the world. Because it's July 7th.
Yeah, because it's all tied to the funding. That's the issue.
That's the problem. But the problem that I don't think that they get is if you have a stable build, the game is beautiful, the ships are beautiful, the ships fly, the funding can still happen. But when you do this, and 3.5 and 3.51 live were horrendous. I wonder what their funding looked like during those patches, right? And I'm just really sick of marketing dictating the game development part of it. And is this even the game development part of it? I don't know. Like the question I would ask you, just being a game developer, would be, does it make a difference putting the feature from a game development perspective, saying, okay, we're putting this PTU out and it's not feature complete yet. We're throwing features in, and as we integrate, shit's breaking all over the place, and we're fixing the stuff that's breaking as we go. Wouldn't that be what they would be doing anyway? Like, all right, so for example, let's use let's just say, I don't know if this is what's happening, but I'm assuming that there is some issue here. Voice over IP integration, right? They made some improvements, integrated them into the build. Voice over IP still isn't live.
Yeah.
Or it still isn't on permanently like they said it would be, because there's probably an issue with it, right? So let's say that in particular, we've hit the cutoff date.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't put it in and move it to the next quarter, what happens with that feature? What happens with the team that's working on that feature? Do they continue to work on it, or do they move on to the next feature and then try and integrate both?
They would continue working on it until they know it works fully.
And how do you know it works fully? Like that's where I want to stop, because this is the part I don't understand. So, all right, you would test it internally, right? So you would have whatever 3.6 is that we're currently playing on now, and you would integrate it with that internally, but we would never see that integration. They would see all the dumpster fire that it is, fix it, and that's considered integrated, no problems. And then maybe they put it out to a PTU later on, and we find some problems.
It's no dumpster fire that you cannot see. So basically, you're only limited with the test case. You have a limited number of QA. You have a limited number of environment situations, whatever you can simulate on the server, which means that you think it's working, but you're probably 50% sure. But what you would do is do the best you can developing that, and then come to a point where you've also internally testing, like, guys, this is working on all kind of test cases we can simulate.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to hold this feature right now, make sure it doesn't break with anything or collide with any other feature that's being developed, and then work on the next thing until the next quarter comes in. And then you would put that feature, add it into PTU or like Evocati, and see if it's functioning. If not, then you'll just continue. It wouldn't stop you. But the only issue there is if stuff gets developed that has prerequisites, like let's say you have 3 different features you're building for a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, like 2, let's say medium important ones, medium priority ones are done, but the main one that enables those other 2 doesn't make it. Then you have to cut 3 things out. So that's the issue where it gets complex, because it's not like every feature is separate.
Which is likely why all the AI got cut, right? Like the AI got cut from 3.6 and moved to 3.7. Because whatever.
We don't have enough information about that to gauge that. Honestly, from what I'm
saying,
looking at,
it could be something, right?
It could. I mean, other stuff also could be, right? If they're connected, and if one part is necessary for the other parts to work, if that part doesn't work, you move it to the next quarter until it works. With the AI, I see more of a manpower issue on the development side, and not having enough AI developers, or having that difficulty of, because creating good AI is a huge task and challenge for any studio. You need quite a talented team with a lot of experience. And with a game like Star Citizen, where the environment constantly changes, the AI has to account for everything that can, like in the game, anything that can happen, the AI needs to read, develop a strategy that is assigned by the programmers, and do it in a way where the player doesn't feel like you have just a retard AI jumping around, looking down and shooting in the air, which is very hard to do, because most games don't have that challenge, especially not on online. They have it on single player. But in general, like there's that issue where I think in this project they should. I know it will be disappointing. Like this is the call, right? You had some callers come in and be like, guys, this is just I'm not feeling the features this quarter. There's not much going on, and yes, it will be a bit more of that. But if in the bigger picture, cutting off these quarter patches is going to be good for the game, and the key thing there, the key topic there is funding. They don't want to disappoint the player base properly, or maybe the futures are so codependent that if they push one thing, everything breaks. That will break the entire quarter. Those two things, I think, those are the main points. Because if you lose money by just doing good game development, then that's also a business strategy decision of what you want to do. You want to delay 2 weeks and just be fine, or you want to make it right and then take the hit, or are you going to take the hit? These are all just business strategy and production questions. Yeah,
it's not as easy as a decision as it seems to be from our perspective, clearly.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like I always look at players' perspectives as a developer, because that's who
we're the one who buy the game.
Players are the customers. Yeah, like that's
we're why you're here.
Yeah. Exactly.
And more so in this case than any, right? We have to be happy, otherwise you're like this thing just disappears. So, all right, buddy. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for giving me more perspective. Every week, I feel like when we converse, I learn a little bit more. That's the one part about the if a feature gets cut, what happens to that feature was the thing that I never quite understood what really happened with it when something gets pushed to next quarter, because it seems like, all right, we just put it on the shelf and we don't do anything with it for a while, but they move on until they can move on to the next thing. So
exactly, and that's one little point I have to add there. The longer you have it on the shelf, the more you need to track of what every other thing can influence it negatively. So that's why you shouldn't keep it too long.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right,
ASN.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Later. Take care.
Bye now. All right, we're going to bring our final caller in for the day, Morphologist. YouTuber extraordinaire, architect.
Thank you for the compliments, but really,
you're welcome. And you're there you go.
How are you doing?
I'm doing. I'm excited. I got a vacation coming up.
Excellent. Where are you headed to?
New Jersey. It's my mother's 60th birthday. Don't laugh. Right. Why are you laughing when I said New Jersey? No. Let's go back. Let's go back.
I thought you live in New Jersey.
No, I live.
Don't you live in New Jersey?
I live in Florida.
Oh, I didn't know that, because I remember you said at one point that you're from New Jersey.
I
am
talking
about
from
a
New Jersey
accent.
Yes,
okay,
I am
so
from New
I
Jersey.
thought you were making a joke because you were going. Because I knew you're from New Jersey, so I thought you were in New Jersey.
I thought you were laughing because everybody makes fun of New Jersey like it's not a beautiful place. Let me tell you something. No. South Florida is not a beautiful place. New Jersey is a beautiful place. Okay? South Florida is all concrete, and it makes me sick. New Jersey has elevation and green.
Does it bother you that all the weirdest stories in the U.S. come from Florida?
Well, no, because I'm not from there, so I don't feel like any ownership of this place. But
true,
like I get it. I see it every day. I understand. This place is crazy. Like if all the aspects of my life and the weather I can pick up and bring to New Jersey, I would. But I gotta get it. Like the people here it's crazy. I have a real life Florida man that lives across. I can look at his house. He's a real life Florida man. That's what we call him. We call him Florida man because that's what he is.
Does he have an alligator in his basement or something?
Probably.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
But yeah, so I don't know. What do you think about 3.6 from your perspective? For me, just to give you a little bit of how I'm feeling because you asked me, was from my perspective, I think it again, I've been saying it quite a bit on the show, is that it has a lot of potential, and it has a lot of potential for content as a streamer and a YouTuber, but it also just has potential to just have a bit of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we have a pretty unique perspective here as two content creators, because as ASN pointed out, it's different when you have to continually make content on it. And yes, nobody plays it for 8 hours a day, but I have to sit with footage I've collected and go over those features and go back and get pickup shots and what have you. It's probably my fault for forcing myself to do higher quality content.
Yeah,
I don't have to.
Same. But I feel like I always need the B-roll, and it's
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a killer, man. Like 8 hours
it's
to
like
make
a drug.
I think it took me like 12 hours to make a patch notes video.
No, I am completely unsurprised by that. Like you think it'd be a simple 1, 2, 3 thing, but really when you're like, oh, maybe I should add a shot here that explains this feature or that, and it makes the video better. But yeah, then it adds like 2 days onto the project. So anyway, what I wanted to do is actually, I want to say that ASN, if you're still listening, that was a wonderful bit. I really enjoyed your perspective. As I hear Twerk did, excuse me, Mike did. I'm gonna keep doing that for a while.
It's fine. Yeah.
So he kind of touched on something that I probably would have touched on. So I'm glad that he was on before me so that we could kind of hit the ground running here with the conversation, because I think from the perspective of Squadron 42 being the primary development, like what they're focusing on this year, it makes a lot of sense for them to have done what they've done with 3.6. Now, yes, from the perspective of marketing, it's not terribly good to not have like a key feature that's, advertisable. Yeah. But at the same time, here's the angle I want to come at, because it's something that I've personally, because I this question that you're asking in your answer the call today is something that I was asking myself, because I wanted to do a video on like what I thought of 3.6, and people keep asking me in these streams I'm doing and the videos I'm doing, and I really need to take some time to think about it. And what I've come to is the thought that actually this is the perfect patch. This is exactly where we should be, and hear me out. The issue with Star Citizen that I've had for a while is that there are a lot of features that they've added, and most of them don't seem to work. Now, yes, there aren't new shiny features to impress people, to get more people to back, but at the same time, all the times that I've streamed in the past trying to do some things that have already been added ended up breaking on the stream. And every time that happens, people drop off because they're just not interested in watching it being a buggy mess again. 20, 30 people just stop watching the stream because it's not fun to watch a buggy mess. It's not fun to almost get somewhere to do something you've been planning on doing only to be stonewalled by a game-breaking feature.
Oh, my entire stream today you're describing. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the patch that they dropped on Friday is the nightmare patch. It was the worst. You crashed less than 5 minutes after loading the game. It was just horrible. The one before that was bad, but it wasn't so bad. But if you look more closely at what they've done with this patch, they didn't add a whole lot of new stuff, but what they did is they fixed a lot of really big issues that I've had in previous patches. One of them is pulling out multiple vehicles so that you can get like a ground vehicle into the back of your ship. Now, it sounds simple, but it's actually a big deal because trying to do stuff with other people can be a big issue when that keeps happening. It's so frustrating to get stuck on a planet because of that. It's small, but it's kind of big.
I hadn't tested that yet, and that's something that's very important to the things that I want to do in the future for this patch for the game.
Yes, I tested it.
Good.
I've confirmed. Awesome. In fact, they've just, what I would describe this patch as is very much a quality of life patch, which makes a lot of sense for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
So as ASN alluded to, the focus on Squadron 42 is their primary thing, and I think we can both agree here, because we've talked about it previously, that this is a good thing that they're focusing on getting this out. It's already been delayed. I know they've added a lot of features and it's become very big, but they need to get it out to show that they can deliver a product, and they need to really reinvigorate the market for Star Citizen, because it's kind of falling off on these as a searched game. I don't know if like my video is the top video for this week in Star Citizen, but it's only got 20K views. I remember the top video in 3.3 got 300K
views.
Okay, listen.
Man. I know.
The top video in 3.3, you look at Law of the West, my videos, Board Gamers, it was like 200, 300,000 views.
Yeah.
Right now, the top is 20,000 views after a huge patch, right? 3.6. Yeah. Okay, I know 20K sounds a lot, but you got to put things in perspective.
It's not a lot at all. I know.
That
it's
is the
nothing.
most.
I was just memeing.
Right. That's the most popular video right now, only has 20K. It's me and Board. We both have 20K videos, right?
Yeah.
That's not terribly good.
I said that to my girlfriend. I said it's very like same with the streams. When a patch would come out, the top streamers would be around I am the top streamer at my time slot typically. Lately the French guys have been kind of doing really a lot more than me, but at least as far as English streamers, when a new patch would come out, I'd have anywhere between 1,000, like 600 to 1,000 viewers on the day one of that patch. I had,
and I believe it,
just over 200 this time, right? Like, and I came out of the room at the end of that stream. I walked up to my girlfriend and I said, nobody cares about this game anymore.
I've had a number of those coming to grips occasions in the past month or so, just feeling like, damn, you know what? Maybe I should start defocusing Star Citizen on my channel, get back to Space Engineers, cover some of the new space games coming out, just kind of take a break. I still might do that.
It's not getting rid of it. It's just putting it on the shelf for a little while because nobody cares.
The thing is that I really do.
Nobody does.
Like
I care. Yeah, of course I do. We do. Yeah. And the people that watch us regularly, of course they do. And that's our core audience and they matter. I'm not saying that they don't. But in terms of like looking at the overarching game community, they had their eyes on this thing pretty hardcore for a while. And when a patch came out, they really wanted to know. But how many times do you have to come to a stream or a YouTube video and say, am I ready to buy this game? Am I ready to play this game? And the answer always being no, where you're just going to give up at some point, right?
Exactly. And so this is to my point. So I'm going to kind of wrap this together here to make this all make sense. Is that there is a lot of dropping off interest for Star Citizen because every patch since 3.3 has turned out to be kind of a disappointment in a way. People have seemed to have lost interest. They're not searching for it as much. And generally, because of the bad press that's happened recently, it's an old conversation at this point. But because of it, it has decreased even more. And there's definitely a rapid increase now in negative comments. Yep. So I think that it's really important for them to get Squadron 42 out and to make sure that it's brilliant. And so I think that it makes sense for them to be focusing on that and that all the stuff that we're getting is kind of like overflow. So from that perspective, I think it makes sense where we are. Yeah. The other facet to this is that fixing bugs is vitally important to the health of the game right now because there's so much that just doesn't work or didn't work in 3.5.1 that made it so that when people were thinking about getting into Star Citizen, that was like nope, I'm not going to do that.
I never took so much time off from it. That's the most time I've taken off from Star Citizen was during the 3.5 cycle since Arena Commander.
Absolutely the same thing for me. Yeah. Definitely. So I think it makes a lot of sense for them to, and I would encourage them to continue down this path of trying to make the polishing what they have out and focusing on Squadron 42. Because if we can have a product that we can, even if there's not a whole lot of features, if they actually work when we stream them and do coverage on them, it's going to still generate interest in the game and it's going to give us something to stream.
Yeah.
Because, in 3.5, there was really nothing I could do. Everything I tried to do wouldn't work because there was some game-breaking bug that stood in the way. And it would just be like an hour stream I couldn't handle it anymore. I would just say, all right, guys, we're going to play something else or I'm just going to be done for the night.
Yep.
So yeah, I that's my perspective overall. I'm happy with 3.6 from that perspective. Yes, I would have loved a huge feature to come out so that I could create some content on it. But at the same time, this is kind of what it needs. It needs quality of life improvements right now.
Exactly.
And they need to focus on that.
Like, yeah, it sucks for content creators, but in the end, it's what's important for the game overall. And that's the thing is if you look at a game like No Man's Sky, it had a really rough start, but over time, they finally delivered on what they probably should have promised, on what they promised early on. It took them a year or two to get to that point. But once they did, nobody talks shit about that game anymore. People, anytime people mention No Man's Sky, I hear only good things about it now. I don't hear anything bad. The only bad stuff I hear is about the start. And Star Citizen has that to its advantage, is at some point, if they do it the right way and they don't focus so much on the now and they keep continuing progressing in the direction that I see them doing now, which is like what you're saying, some quality of life stuff now, focus in the right place like Squadron 42, and the features in order to scale to the game that was promised of Star Citizen, like, server-side OCS, server meshing, all those things being the priority, then eventually they're going to be able to get eyes back on themselves, right? And when they do have those eyes on themselves, it's actually going to be a much improved product, and the idea or the perception that people have of the game are probably going to flip pretty quickly, and funding is going to go up and so on, yada yada yada. So it's just I just hope they keep along this path, but I'm assuming they see the same stats that you're seeing. and that I'm seeing is people don't care right now.
But at the same time, I think that it's hard for them to understand that sometimes from their perspective. And that's what gives us a very unique opportunity, because we kind of have our finger on the pulse of the community and its health and the way it feels through our statistics, through the way we converse with our viewership, and kind of what we personally are interested in. We're much more invested in the game. We're spending a lot more time on it, viewing it, I think, a lot more critically than the average player, I would say.
Yeah.
So I think we've got that unique perspective to offer. But that's there's one other thing I wanted to say here. But continue so I can try to think of what I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much other than that. Like, I'm very like, it's weird, I'm happy with 3.6. I'm so happy what it is. Obviously there's some bugs in the P2, and I have some issues that, I talked through with ASN about the why maybe didn't this feature just get pushed to 3.7, and it's obviously like a marketing thing, but the what 3.6 is to me, no AI improvements, none of it really matters, because the little improvements that they made and the steps getting towards the game that I think Star Citizen is going to be, I see happening. And there were some patches where it. Go ahead.
You touched on something really important. You said that there was no improvement to the AI, but I would say that they've done something really good to the AI in this patch, and this is kind of touching on. Okay, somehow they fixed it. Now I have not been able to confirm this because I can't find the reference to the post where the dev said this, but Carrot Up, a viewer of mine, he's somebody who often appears in my community, who's very in touch with like the devs have been saying. Yeah, he actually said that they had done something with the AI in this patch to offload it off the server onto another server. That it's drawing from that server, and that's why the AI is working in this patch. Like, it's actually working. So the I actually was killed in 3.6 by an AI.
They're rough now.
Yeah, they're actually working, and they didn't before. And so here's what I wanted to get to earlier. This is what I lost my train of thought on that I wanted to bring it back to.
Okay.
There's something that really interesting happened the other night when I was streaming. So I streamed for quite a while. It was a pretty 5-hour stream playing 3.6. I was actually enjoying it, and people were clipping what I was doing as I was going along. And a really surprising thing happened. Somebody clipped the LODs of the Lorville actually, and posted it on Reddit. And ended up getting nearly 100 upvotes just for the LOD improvements. And I did a video on how VoIP improvements actually made the head tracking viable in this patch. Now, both of these are features that we had in the past, supposedly, but they were broken. What's interesting to me is the positive reaction to a working feature in this patch. And that's kind of the supporting facts that I want to provide to this conversation to give it, I guess, a little bit more believability to the argument we're trying to make here, that fixing things is a really good way to continually support or develop interest in the game at a time where they can't focus on adding shiny new features.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that came in terms of if you open up 3.5 and do a side-by-side comparison of 3.5 to 3.6, you're going to see some drastic differences. I don't have the time and energy to do it. I know somebody out there does, and I know it's fitting to your channel. Maybe you should.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it's not just the LODs. There's a lot of lighting improvements.
There's a lot of little tiny things. And 100 votes is not much, but come on, LODs? That's one of the most boring subjects to talk about. Yes, the LODs look great. My point is that
anything on Reddit that has a screenshot instantly gets 100 upvotes, okay? So it's... Yeah.
Oh, this wasn't a screenshot. This is a video. So that's even more impressive.
Yeah.
Nobody clicks.
They don't watch videos. They don't watch videos on Reddit.
No one watches
that's a big
videos
deal.
on Reddit. Yeah, it's only screenshots. Unless it's Tarada. Tarada's just on fire right now. His stuff is amazing.
Yeah, it's really awesome. But I mean, overall, I'm happy personally.
Same. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not what we want. It's what we got, and I got no major issues with it at all. And I'm ready for whatever comes next.
Indeed, and I'm looking forward to digesting more of 3.6 and discovering some of its little quirks that I didn't expect. Like there was something that they added in the last patch that was broken. The one that they added on Friday, where the the ship shakes when you shoot a rotary gun, like the GT 210s or something. The ship just slightly vibrates, and it doesn't happen in this patch. I was like, wow, I've never noticed this before. So they're adding all these little very minute improvements, like the lighting, like you said. There's actually now lighting in the elevators on Lorville. The lighting's been changed in Port Olisar. The lighting in ships have been improved. There's like all these little minor things that you won't notice right away, but after you spend some time with Star Citizen, like, wow, this really has improved the polish.
Yeah, it looks really good now
of the game. Absolutely.
Sure. Well, all right, Morph.
So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, man. We'll let you go. For those of you guys that don't know Morphologist, make sure you check out his YouTube channel and his Twitch channel. So twitch.tv/Morphologist, youtube.com/Morphologist, and check his stuff out. All right. So Morph, I will let you go. I appreciate you coming on. And
it was my pleasure, man. Thanks for the shout out.
Anytime. Bye now. So, all right, guys. That's going to be it for today's show. We went over a little bit, and this cat is insane. She's driving me nuts. But we are, I think that's it for this week. Just another note. Again, I said at the beginning of the show, but I'll say it at the end as well. We're not going to be on for Answer the Call next week because it's my mother's 60th birthday, and I want to spend that time with her. So we're gonna be off next Sunday, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. And and I'm saying a lot. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video and make a comment and let me know what you guys think about 3.6. All right. So have a great one, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.